Hey everyone, we're Chad and Ashley, and this is ouRVan. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, we are full-time travelers, and we are currently on the west coast in California, up north California, and we spent last night on the beach. As you can see behind me here, it's beautiful. Not going to get into much detail because our last video we showed a lot of this spot. You should definitely check it out if you haven't. There's a sunset, there's some cool starfish and anemones, and we even saw some redwoods. But the redwoods we saw were kind of small. They look kind of like not like the old giant ones. So the goal for this video is to see the giant redwoods. We're super excited, and we have a bunch of stops planned for along the coast where the redwoods are most dense. And we're super excited, and of course we're taking you with us. He's so cool, look at him! What? So let's hit the road and go find some big trees.
All right, so our first redwood stop today is at Prairie Creek Redwoods State Park. It's just a little bit north of the national park, and pretty impressive. I think we're into the bigger trees here.
Yes, these are definitely bigger than the ones we saw yesterday.
And the camera could never show the scale of the trees, so just take my word for it. It's bigger in person. The redwood forests in California basically make up the first 200 miles roughly of coastline from Northern California all the way down to San Francisco. And the main areas of redwoods have all been designated as either state or national parks. And it's kind of confusing whether you're in a state park or a national park, because they just switch without any real signs a lot of the time. So in the last video, if you watched it, we went to Jedediah Smith Redwoods, and that's pretty much the farthest north state park that there is. And in this video, we're going to start in Prairie Creek Redwoods State Park. So in Prairie Creek State Park, we basically hiked a series of trails. We parked right off the main road, which is the Highway 101, the scenic highway. And there was also a scenic road that they called a scenic alternate to Highway 101. And if you're ever driving south along the Pacific Coast Highway and you see a sign that says scenic alternate, highly recommended. It's basically an awesome scenic road that parallels the highway. But anyways, we did a series of trails while we were in there. The main one that we were looking for was Circle Trail, but it links up with another one called Cathedral Trees Trail, and they're all just kind of blended together. There's one big tree in this area, which is actually called Big Tree, and it's kind of confusing. It's not even the biggest tree in the area, but it is a very big tree, and I guess it's one of the oldest, and it's just a famous tree. It's known as Big Tree. It's definitely worth the stop, and it is just off of Circle Trail. Walked around that area for a while, and that is pretty much all we did when we were in the Prairie Creek Redwood State Park.
Alright guys, so we just passed a place called Tree of Mystery, and someone actually recommended for us to go there, and we happened to be driving right by it, so I think we're going to stop, take a look. Basically what it is a tram, an aerial tram that takes you above the redwoods, and you get to look at them from above, and they said it's really cool, so I think we're going to stop and check that out.
Next, we went to a place called Trees of Mystery, and we actually saw billboards all up the road for it, and it was recommended to us by somebody we were camping next to a couple weeks before we got into the redwoods. And basically what they described it as was an aerial tram ride that goes up into the redwoods and lets you see all the way from the base up into the canopy. And it's not just the aerial tram. There's actually three main things this park is known for. First one we'll talk about is, they call it the Brotherhood Tree, which it's another just very, very large, very old redwood. One thing that's really cool is that, I don't know if it's true, we didn't fact check it, but they claim that it is the largest privately owned tree in the world. Next, what this park is most known for is their aerial tram ride. About a 15-minute ride from the base to the top. It speeds up and slows down the whole way as people get on and off at the loading stations, and it takes you all up through the redwoods, and you do get a good view at the trees. And there's a little deck at the top that I don't remember what it was called, but there's just a little wooden deck at the top that you can walk around and has some nice views off into the forest. Something that no one mentioned to us, and the third thing that I would say this park is known for, was actually our favorite thing there, which is, I'm going to call it the canopy walk, and I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Basically, it's stairways up into the trees. You get up about canopy level. I think you range from between 50 feet off the ground and 100 feet off the ground up in these trees, and you're walking on rope bridges, and there's little platforms on the trees, and you're walking from tree to tree between 50 and 100 feet off the ground. By far, in my opinion, the best thing there, and we actually did that twice. Also, if I didn't mention before, the admission to the park covers everything there. It's not like you're paying for each thing individually. You pay for an entrance to the park, and it's pretty much like it's a nature amusement park. Very cool. Definitely worth the stop. After Trees of Mystery, we jumped right on into what I believe is referred to as the National Park, part of the Redwoods, known as Redwoods National Park. And one very popular trail that we did in the National Park was called Lady Bird Johnson Grove. Yeah, that's a pretty big one. And this trail has a lot of the larger redwoods. If I'm remembering correctly, it actually wasn't an old growth, it was like a second growth forest, but still very, very big, very old trees. And something interesting about this trail in particular was that a lot of the trees were burned down, like from forest fires in the past. And one fact we learned about these redwoods is one way they last so long is because their bark is flame resistant. And you can kind of see that because it's really interesting when you look at a lot of these burned trees. The whole inside of the tree is burned out and hollow, and then the bark is still there. And in some cases, the bark is supporting a growing tree on top. It's completely burned out, but there's still a living tree attached on the upper part. It's kind of interesting, and we got a few shots of those. So that was pretty much Lady Bird Johnson Grove. We walked, I want to say it was about a 1.5-mile trail. Very cool loop. Definitely recommended. I would recommend everything we did in the Redwoods. And I'm sure there's a lot more we didn't do that I would recommend also. But anyways, next stop after that, we went back into Prairie Creek State Park. And there's a place there. It's right on the coast. It's kind of in a different section of the park, the coastal part. And it was called Fern Canyon. And we found Fern Canyon online, thought it looked really cool. It turns out it is a long, long road in, and it is actually a paid attraction, technically. There's a state park fee, but the National Park Pass, the America the Beautiful Pass, does get you in there. It actually gets you in every paid part of the Redwoods, all the state parks and everything. But it's about a 8-mile long, pretty rough dirt road to get up to the trailhead for Fern Canyon. It's so close to the beach, basically right on the beach, and there's not a lot of big redwoods there. So it almost didn't feel like you were in the redwood forests, but it's a really cool attraction and very popular. It was busy when we were there. Basically, you're just walking through this canyon. I think depending on the time of year, there's either a little water flowing through the canyon or a lot. Sometimes you might be wading. In our case, it was just a little stream that you crossed, zigzagging across on boards. And it's about a 50-foot deep canyon, a little shallower in areas, maybe 20 feet. But the walls of the canyon are just completely covered in ferns. You're just walking through a forest of ferns. It's very, very cool. Great photo opportunities in there. And again, worth the stop. Definitely recommended. Well, we are back on the move and heading farther south. We're going to make a quick stop for groceries. We're actually driving right through a scenic drive through that, Prairie Creek Redwoods State Park. I think that's the name of it. We went there before. Taking the scenic drive through, we're going to stop at a Walmart, and then there's one more state park of redwoods on our way south. And then I think that's going to be our last bit of redwoods, unfortunately, but it's called Humboldt State Park. So we'll take a look at that when we get there. All right, we made it down the road to Humboldt Redwoods State Park. It's going to be our last Redwoods stop. Looks like it's a good one, though. We'd actually heard there's this road, very famous, I guess, in the Redwoods, called Avenue of the Giants, and we'd heard of it. We thought it was farther north, thought we missed it. We went on another road, that scenic drive we mentioned before. They said that was really similar to it, so we felt like, okay, we could miss it. But it turns out the Avenue of the Giants is basically all through this park. It runs along the, what would that be? I don't know. It's either the east or the west side of the park. Right? Runs kind of parallel to 101 just into the state park here. So we got to drive about 25 miles of the Avenue of the Giants, which was awesome. Really cool drive, cruising the RV through there. And then now we are on this little hiking trail. Probably going to be our last Redwoods hike.
I feel like we've seen a lot of the redwoods, and I feel
satisfied.
Yes, right?
Yeah, like come on, look at this. I call this the 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 connected trees right here.
They look like goblins.
Yep.
They do.
Anyways, we'll show you a couple more of these. Also, I don't even know if it's allowed to fly a drone in these parks, but I really wanted a shot of a drone flying up the full height of a redwood. So take a peek at this. And got all the way to the top thanks to the measuring device on the drone. These aren't the tallest redwoods, nor are they the biggest, but it was about 290, right around 300, just under 300 feet at the tops of all these. So of course there are bigger ones, but it was really cool to get it up there. Also, a great part about this trail is it was one of very few trails that did not have a no dogs sign right at the entrance. So is it allowed? I don't know, but the signs didn't say it wasn't allowed. So Buddy's going to look at some redwoods.
All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up this video here. Not sure how much footage we have, but I feel like it's long or enough. And I hope you enjoyed your time in the redwoods with us. It was a lot of fun. This was a bucket list thing, and we're glad we did it, and we're glad we're here. And I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.
And also, don't forget, the trees are way bigger in person. Don't just watch this video. You gotta get out here and see them to really understand, because honestly, maybe it'll look better when I go to edit it, but in my opinion, on the video so far, this has just looked like a very average forest on camera, but really, it's huge. So I'll leave you with that, and we'll see you next time.